What's up, everybody? Ray coming back at you with part 2 of that Genesis Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 theory video, 2 videos, compilation, whatever you want to call it. I'm excited to get back into this. Thank you all for all the positive feedback on that first Genesis video that I did. I really appreciate it. Been a long time coming on this video, as a lot of you all know who have been watching me and playing the game for a while in streams and stuff. I've been talking about this video for months. I've been wanting to do this for months. Wanted to put some love into it though for you all, because you deserve it, because you all deserve it. So without further ado, I want to get into the meat of this. So as you all know, in the previous video, if you didn't watch the previous video, go back and watch that one. Now also, if you like that one and you like this one, throw a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate all the love and support y'all are giving me. But as we covered in the last video, we talked about a few things about Genesis, and also the last time we saw him was his awakening or reawakening at the end of Dirge of Cerberus. Chronologically, that's the last time we see Genesis, right? Until Square Enix decides to go ahead and move forward with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, as far as Genesis characterization in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, I believe he's going to be changed. Everybody keeps wanting to talk about, and I've said this, that, the concept of the character is fantastic. The execution of the character, not so much. I believe he's going to be changed. No longer pontificating lines from Loveless, and as evidenced by the ending of Crisis Core, even, when Zack spares his life after Genesis returns from the live stream, he is already beginning to change. He's a little more quieter, he's a little more subdued, he's not all over the place with the Loveless stuff anymore. He's humble. That's something he never was. He was humble. He's starting to realize the things he did were wrong. He's been given the second chance, and this is his chance for redemption. Also, he declines the invitation from Whis and Nero of Deep Ground to lead their rebellion against Shinra. Rather, he opted to go into a self-induced slumber until the planet calls upon him to do whatever it is the planet thinks he's going to need to do. Now, I would like to see a distant, quiet version of Genesis, right? A bit more gruff even, possibly. A slightly deeper voice, and looking like he's been through some horrible stuff, right? Like he's seen some shit. Like, the planet has showed him some horrible things, and he is wiser. He's wiser. Because remember, he's been asleep underneath Deep Ground, in slumber, in stasis, whatever you want to call it. He's not just been sleeping there. The planet is pumping him with information. It's also powering him up. He's gonna be stronger than he was, because the planet needs him to be. And that's one thing they're going to be getting into in this, I think. A more humble version of the character would go a long way in showing his character growth as well. Now, for his voice, before I get into the story stuff here, I would love to see Matt Mercer voice this character. Now, I know, I can't remember who, someone in my chat, maybe Frederick, I can't remember who it was. So whoever was in chat, shout out to you in my YouTube channel and on my Twitch channel. Said Matt Mercer was just one of the random people in one of the alleys in Walmart. He's a big voice actor. I didn't know he was just like a random voice in there. Maybe he just wanted to have a credit in Final Fantasy VII Remake. I don't blame you, brother. I don't blame you. Now, when he awakens at the end of Dirge of Cerberus, not Matt Mercer, Genesis. When he awakens at the end of Dirge of Cerberus, I think we have to consider that a different time loop, obviously, right? Because that takes place, what is it? It's about 3 years into the future. That's going to be a different time loop, obviously. Because he seems a little sinister. That seems a little sinister, right? The planet awakens him for something. I don't know what Square Enix's plans were. Because I feel like Square Enix possibly had a plan for some Final Fantasy VII sequels that would have portrayed Genesis as the main antagonist. But around the time they finished Crisis Core is around the time the first ideas started to take shape for possibly doing Final Fantasy VII Remake. And so any sequels they had were most likely scrapped, or even if they had them on the table, they're probably scrapped because it's going to be all hands on deck for this. Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy 15 at the time was being planned. I mean, they had so much in the works at the time, any 7 sequels, direct sequels, were probably scrapped. So that would have been a previous time loop from this one. That time loop would have already happened. We don't know what Genesis went off to do in that time loop when he grabbed Whis and flew away. But that was a previous one to this one. So I think the planet is going to activate him now that Sephiroth has eliminated the Whispers. Genesis wouldn't have been asleep very long at this point either. Maybe a few months, because it would have been around September of that year when Zack defeated Genesis and Deep Ground picked him up. In fact, he could be slumbering in the very spot where the Whispers denied access to Cloud, Barret, and Tifa while in the Deep Ground Project G facility in Remake. Think about that. Think about that for a second. There was something in there the Whispers did not want them to take a peek at. It was sealed up. It was sealed up. That wall, it got busted because the big G specimen fell through it and Barret gunned it open. There was something in there the planet did not want them to see, and I think it was Genesis asleep. I really do. I don't think he was in a pod. I think he's in there in some kind of slumber, some kind of stasis or whatever. If Genesis is a sentinel of the planet now, which we're led to believe he is, and he's slumbering, ingesting all this knowledge and power from the live stream right now, then the Whispers would protect him right now. And in that spot right there, they would be protecting him. Plus, what if Sephiroth's cells in Cloud were reacting to the presence of Genesis right there? When he has his little mental zap moment, what if it's the Sephiroth cells within Cloud starting to get riled up because it senses Genesis in there? Just something to think about. So, what is he going to be doing now, and what is his end game? Well, he's awakened sometime during Remake, or maybe even at the very end when the Whispers get eliminated. That's what I feel. That's my theory. Because with the elimination of the Whispers, time is weird, right? So like any point in the game where you saw the Whispers interacting and changing or holding somebody in place or doing something, like, you know, Jesse and Biggs on the pillar, like, or Aerith in the alleyway or on the street, or any time the Whispers were intervening in something, that moment was erased. That moment was changed. That's why Biggs can be alive now, because they were interfering with that whole thing on the pillar assault. Like Cloud and company trying to get there and get to them, and there were circumstances that happened. That moment is erased. So time is weird, right? Things that we saw happen may not have happened now because the Whispers are gone. Their influence was erased throughout time. Completely throughout time during this time loop, right? It doesn't affect other time loops, only this one. So, saying that, I get to this. He is awakened because the planet's home security system is gone. I think Genesis is the planet's ace in the hole, right? Because if you look at, and this is kind of a funny little analogy, but if you look at the weapons, right? Ruby, Diamond, Emerald, all the weapons, Ultimate Weapon, all of them. They're basically the guns in the closet, right? they're the shotguns underneath the couch if somebody breaks into your house. That's the weapons for the planet. The Whispers are the ADT system. The Whispers are the security cameras outside. I was like, hey man, we got a problem out here. Come on. We might have a little situation out here. Oh, it's just a cat. Never mind, it's just a cat. Don't worry about it. That's the Whispers, right? The Whispers aren't meant to take action. They only take action against people that are affecting the direct flow of the planet. So they're gone now. They're gone. And all that remains are maybe the weapons, and that is that's hitting the red button for the planet, right? If the weapons get activated, that's the nuclear switch. That's the nuclear device. They don't want to do that. So Genesis is their ace in the hole right now. Now, I also believe that Zack is alive in the current timeline of the game, and he is hiding out in Wutai. But that's a subject for another video. But that is important because there is a representative of each of Genesis' former friends that are alive in Remake. Obviously, Cloud represents Sephiroth because he has the freshest set of Sephiroth cells in his body. And Zack represents Angeal, right? So I think Genesis, even though he's changed, he's going to want to help them in some way. And I also think that Zack knows about Genesis, and Genesis knows about Zack, because when we pick up Remake Part 2, I don't think it's going to pick up directly, like right the minute that Remake Part 1 ends. I think it might be a week or so later, because they're going to have to get out of the wastelands, have to get to Calm, and the size of the world that they're portraying in Remake, it's a big world. It might take, on foot or, you know, by some small ride or whatever, it might take a few days to get to Calm. And they might be in Calm for a few days. And I think that's when Cloud's going to tell the story when they get there. I think that part will remain true to the original. Some things I think need to remain true to the original. I think that's one of them. Now, I believe early on in Remake Part 2, we're going to see Genesis copies in the shadows, right? Watching Cloud and company, keeping an eye on them, seeing what's up with them, maybe test them a little bit. There will be a couple, but not too many random fights with them as Genesis tests the party's strength. He tests their resolve. And he's basically a conduit reporting back and forth to the plan. Hey, I think these guys can hack it. Hey, I don't think these guys have what it takes. Whatever. He will be presented as an antagonist. He'll be presented like a villain, right? Especially after he is revealed, because obviously people will know who he is and just assume that he is the villain, right? And Nojima's going to play on that. Nojima's going to be like, look, you know, everybody knows that Genesis was the villain of Crisis Core, pretty much, you know, misunderstood character, you know, he's not really evil, you know, but Nojima will play on that, and the people making the game are going to play on that. Everybody involved in the creative side of it, they're going to play on that. Here's the twist. Okay, here's the twist. Genesis, he's not the villain. He's not the villain at all. Heroic character, misguided, manipulated, misunderstood, and now he's on a path to redemption. That's going to be him in Remake Part 2. He's actually a heroic character now. Like at the end of Crisis Core, he is changed. So that's evident. Go back and play it. That'll be evident. He's changing. He's yelling for Zack to fight him and stand up and fight, and, you know, show him the honor of a soldier, and that he's wanting Zack to take him out. You know, he's wanting Zack to show him what a hero looks like, and it's also Genesis kind of pissed off that he couldn't be the hero that Zack is. So now he's got this second chance. I think that's gonna tie in very, very big into this character when you get to see him. So, not a villain. He's going to be a heroic character. Now, will he be in the party? I don't think so. I don't think he will be. Maybe he might pop in to help out with a fight here and there or something like that to kind of show off what he can do. Kind of like in Final Fantasy 15, you have some guest characters in and out, you know. He might be like Red 13 was at the end of VII Remake. You can kind of see what he does. He helps out in fights, but I don't think he'll be a party member. I think he will be kind of like just a consciousness throughout the game. He'll kind of come in at big plot points in the game when things are happening, and the planet's like, hey, I need you to teleport over to so-and-so, zap, and then the planet will send him there, and he'll be there, right, to help out. The planet gave him the second chance. He's on the path to redemption, but I think some of his personality traits will still shine through. He's going to butt heads with people, but he's also going to have bonds with people. I think him and Vincent will have a similar tie and perhaps develop a bond in that respect because, you know, they're both on this path to redemption. We're going to get Vincent in Game 2. I don't think there's any way we don't. We're going to get Vincent in Game 2, and I think the two of these guys will hit it off in kind of their quiet, grumpy kind of way, right? Plus, you know, they have the same fashion sense, so they both stand out in the group. Wearing that hot red coat, you know, they're big on the buckles and the tatters, right? I think the Genesis will look a little tattered in the Part 2, so we got that going on, right? We also have Genesis hates Shinra. He hates Shinra with a passion, and has always wanted to be a great hero. he's also a genuinely good guy, just a bit of a loner. So he knows Shinra is an evil organization. That's why he rebelled. All the truth and everything about him and the stuff that they had done to other people, and he found out about Sephiroth before Sephiroth knew. He's the one that told Sephiroth, and Sephiroth looked into it in the mansion. That's when Sephiroth went crazy. You know, I mean, Genesis is a good dude. He is. And I think, you know, he will have evolved to a point now where he's not easily manipulated. But, you know, we'll see how that goes. I don't think it's going to end well for Genesis, though. I really don't. In my opinion, Genesis is the Anakin Skywalker of Final Fantasy VII. He really is, because you think about it, he's like the Fallen Knight story, super powerful from childhood, you know, raised to eventually be in Soldier. I mean, being in Soldier is like being a Jedi Master, right? In the world of Final Fantasy VII. It really is. Like, there's almost nothing you can't do on the physical plane as a soldier. Problem is, it's like Elmira said in Final Fantasy VII Remake, you trade your humanity for power. You can't have it both ways. People in Soldier don't realize that until they're in, and then there's no out. The only way out is you die because of the cellular degradation. And he's a tragic character, right? That ending of Crisis Core, where he thinks he's finally died, he thinks he finally has an honorable death because he faced his death. He looked death in the eye and he accepted it, and he gets turned away. The CG in that scene, the look on his face of just total, just like, you know, just depressed and like he's fallen short, and like he doesn't know up from down at that point, and he gets sent back, and then after that he's just quiet. He's tragic, but now he's got the second chance for redemption. He is kind of like the Anakin Skywalker of this world to me. Think of Genesis and Remake Part 2 like Auron from Final Fantasy X, right? Think about Auron's storyline, and he's my favorite character in Final Fantasy X. Nobody can... That's just like... That was before I became an old guy, right? Like, when I was like 20 or whatever playing this game, I was like, Auron's my dude. And now that I'm like 40, I'm like, Auron's double my dude. But think of Genesis like Auron from Final Fantasy X. He's kind of like a guide. He's very powerful, but very mysterious. You don't really know what's up with this guy until like the last 10 to 15% of the game. You know, I think that's going to be kind of what goes on with Genesis in this game. I think the party will learn to understand that he's not horrible. He's not a bad person. That he's actually there with good intentions and helps them out in tight places. I think his storyline eventually leads them to getting to Wutai. I think Genesis will be in cahoots with Zack. I think Zack's hiding out in Wutai. I think Zack and Genesis have been in communication because the planet's going to tell Genesis, hey yo, Zack's in Wutai. So-and-so helped, and I say so-and-so because I'm not giving it away right now. We'll talk about it in the Zack video I'm wanting to do here soon. So-and-so helped Zack get out of the lab once he was recollected. He's in Wutai because nobody from Shinra can touch anybody in Wutai. So he's hiding out in Wutai. I think Genesis is going to drop them breadcrumbs. Like, hey, there's somebody in Wutai you need to talk to. Hey, I got this guy in Wutai you need to talk to. And of course, Genesis and Zack, they have a bond, they have a history, and I think that's going to be a big thing to play in the telling of the story for Part 2. Now, I think Genesis is going to befall a tragic fate, though. I think for as much as the redemption as he's trying to go through and all that kind of stuff, I think Sephiroth, and this is the character flaw with Genesis, I think Sephiroth will play him, because there's no way on earth that Sephiroth has the right wing and Genesis has the left black wing. There's no way on earth Square Enix is not going to explore and tell that story of what's going on with that. It's not just like a random happenstance. There's something going on there. And I think part of Sephiroth's plan in Remake, and part of why he feels like he didn't succeed, he's never succeeded, is because he's not whole. He's not complete. Cloud has some of his pure cells, and there's something about Genesis that will make Sephiroth complete. Now, how I think this happens, not quite 100%, but I think it's going to have something to do with Genesis' ability to copy, right? To copy himself onto other people. I think Sephiroth might try to lure Genesis into something where he tries to copy himself onto Sephiroth to defeat Sephiroth, or by some weird science fiction explanation like that. I think Sephiroth's going to play him. I think he's going to do something where he absorbs Genesis consciousness, or he kills Genesis and takes Genesis remains or his DNA and injects it in himself, gets the other wing, becomes complete. I think that's going to have something to do with the end game. So I think as we get closer to the end game of the story, like the last third of the story, which will be Remake Part 3 or Part 4, whichever the end of the story is, I think before we go into the final part of that game, I think we lose Genesis. I think Genesis dies. He'll be killed by Sephiroth, but he will have redeemed himself for all the crappy things he did, right? And it wasn't even really that bad. He was taking out Shinra soldiers and stuff like that. They didn't deserve that, but he wasn't going out and mass murdering citizens or summoning meteor or anything like that, right? He cares about the planet. So at the end of the day, I think Genesis, game number 2, Remake 2, good guy, Orin type character. He's going to be like a distant guide, super powerful. He's going to have ties to Zack. He's going to have ties to Cloud, and he's also going to have a tie to the end game. So, but that's my Genesis theory. A lot of people are painting him as like possibly the villain for game 2, and like I said, I think Nojima's going to play us. I think the twist is going to be he is presented as the antagonist. We're going to have to fight. We will have to fight Genesis in Remake Part 2. He might even be like a final boss type character for Remake Part 2, but it's going to turn out that he's not a bad guy, right? It could even be a thing where a clone goes rogue and Genesis is knocked out of the story or something. But I don't think so. I don't think it'll be that convoluted. There will be a tough boss fight with Genesis, and then after that, the twist will be revealed. He's not a bad guy. He's a good dude. So anyway, that is my 2-parter on Genesis. As you all can see, that was almost 50 minutes if I'd done one video. So that's why I wanted to do 2 videos, so y'all can digest a little bit, and let me know what you all thought in the comments. I love stuff like this. Kind of the meat and potatoes of what I do is theory and speculation. So this is a lot of fun for me to do. I have so much fun interacting with you all about your theories and stuff. Let me know in the comments below what you think about my theory. Let me hear your theory. I know a lot of you all have theories on Genesis. I think this is the path I would go, or I would want to go, if I was on the creative direction or the creative staff for the game. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm already hyped. We're probably 2 years away from this game. I'm trying to keep the hype roof up. Hype roof up. I'm trying to keep that hype roof up. All right, I'm trying to keep all the hype in here for you all. So I don't want to let it get out of the room. So I hope you all like that. Throw a like on the video if you would. I really appreciate it. It helps get my stuff out there. Subscribe to the channel. I got new stuff coming all the time. I think my next theory video is going to be my revised theory on Zack. What's going on with him? How he wound up away from Cloud when things changed and history was rewritten right there that second when the Whispers were defeated. I'm going to do something on the Whispers and what I think is going on with time. And I've got just a bunch of videos about Final Fantasy VII Remake I want to get to. But you all have a great night. Keep rocking. I can't stress that enough. Y'all got to rock. Y'all got to keep rocking out there, especially in these bad times. It's Christmas time. Let's Christmas rock. Extra rocking this week because it's Christmas time, okay? You all be good to each other. Stay safe out there. And you will see me in the next video very soon. Thank you all. Have a good night.